Hey guys, what is going on? Gonna be looking at today defending the B apartments of Mirage. A job no one really wants, you end up rotating into A a lot. Snotty ends up in the hands of the support player, such as Xyp9x for Astralis, so I thought, who better look at than him, the support player, the best team in the world at the moment. It's been a while without an Astralis video, and you guys seem to always miss those Astralis videos because I make so few of them. Now the first thing you notice about when defending these B apps Mirage is this Molotov is thrown right at the beginning of the round every single time. That's because it denies so much information from the T side. If we look at the Space Soldiers play right now, because this Molotov spreads the way it does, you can't run out, you can't peek, get your AWP trained at the angle. So Xyp9x can theoretically be anywhere right now. He could be tucking himself in this corner, even though unlikely, but it allows him to make different movements and really control the fight and deny a lot of information from Space Soldiers. So if we look at what Xyp9x is going to do as we continue, he's just going to smoke really early, and there's a bit of variation as the smoke timing, but he can get behind this again, relying on the fact that as that Molotov fades, players might try and push through. Just going to have a spray. Molotov, or the nade, sorry, does a little bit of damage. So that's just a couple of variations you can do. And again, that Molotov allows you to have so many options at the beginning of a round. And we'll see different options as we continue further into this video. Now, the reason I picked this one to start off with is because I think these on-site angles are very powerful. You can see Xyp9x is really just isolating this one position. Anyone try to jump out, such as the player there gets taken out. Before he swings out here, and he's isolated the balcony area. So when you look at those two fights, he's isolated anyone jumping out that window, getting the first contact from anyone that could potentially get onto the B site, before then swinging out and then taking balcony once he thinks players could have passed. And he does it without exposing himself to too many extra angles. That's why that particular angle I just showed then is very powerful. And he's going to end up swinging around. The rotations are coming in for his teammates, and he's just going to slow it down right now, not really peeking until device starts to see players cross. He does eventually try and swing, reposition, but notice he takes a lot of the contact away from Dupree. He can just swing in. So obviously his teammates rotating in, play a bit of a role there, but one of the biggest things about that one is just the angles he plays, and that Molotov is something I really want to explain to you guys to start this video off. Now backtracking quickly to that Molotov again, if a player does try to beat it, if there's any type of pressure coming into Xyp9x early on, we'll see other scenarios as well, but a very simple punish for an AWPer trying to get a pick, such as Guardian might have been doing in this scenario, is just to throw this very simple nade. Notice as well he pulls his gun out for a while, he waits for the confirmation from Dupree, says no one's crossing mate, you can pull out your nade, throw it. Because he suspects this pick could be coming in from a player such as Guardian, he just says, here's a little present for you. That's probably not a smart idea for you to do. 26 point of damage, doesn't seem like much, but it can be the difference between killing this AWPer and not. Obviously with the M4 not being a one-shot headshot. So that's it, pretty boring round, a bit of name damage. That's a really good way to punish anyone who is trying to beat your Molotov. There are of course other shenanigans the T side can throw at you to try and deny your information in the apartments area. Again, we're going to see a player such as Naf beat the Molotov coming from Xyp9x. He's going to throw some smoke and just try and deny some information from Xyp9x. Obviously Xyp9x spotted him right now, but notice how thorough he is at clearing this out with his teammate as well. He's not giving up a pick potentially. Dupree is here to trade, even Glade's getting the action. So he's clearing this out. They want control of this app, so no one's looking for a pick, so Naf did keep running. He clears this out quite thoroughly, backing off. Then going to nade into that corner, actually double nade with Dupree in this scenario. But notice how his teammates are in with him to trade this out. He's not dry peeking this very confident winning it himself, because Naf could potentially get the opening into a round, which down 15 to 10 could be the end of your run on Mirage. So that's a little thing to notice, the fact that he does call his teammate in Dupree and Glaive very fast to rotate over, just to lock down this apartments again. When Naf does throw, there's just a little bit of utility, and active rotation from Astralis, probably a topic for me to cover another day. Now as we continue this one on, we're going to talk about how he reacts when he does get pressured later on in the round, and how there's different styles. So we saw the one before where he's fighting, playing the angles on the B site, whereas he's playing a much more of a delay style right now, only taking the fights he needs to. So a smoke and a flash to try and deny, fighting the player coming on short. And that's a very important thing to note about these top players. They're very decisive fighting short with his teammates now. Before hugging against this blue wall, he doesn't try and fall back into the B site or anything. His sole job here is to delay, allow his teammates to rotate in, such as devices had time to do. They can double pick this together, and even Magic has time to flank in. So he holds that wall. So it's another different style you can play, is hugging that wall, denying information, making it as hard as possible for you to get peaks. So that AWPer had to peek all the way out into the balcony. Again, opportunities for his teammates to potentially kill that AWPer, even though Xyp9x does do it himself. So he's delaying a lot of time rather than fighting on the site. And there's a couple of different ways you can play this. Obviously you want to fight, but as an anchor, just delaying for your teammates to rotate in is another huge thing you need to consider and think about when defending this type of site. Now in that previous clip, you might have been saying to yourself, well of course he hugged the wall. He had to help his teammate out on short. And yes, this is true, and he probably could have moved after we saw the POV from the T side. Was a safer option, but he will also play back in towards the site. Again, more angles you can create there to just basically give yourself a favourable angle, basically. He also plays off angle onto truck, a very powerful one. Players don't often check the different types of the round. And notice how he's just able to swing right now. Use all these pillars around the B site to create different fights for himself whenever he wants. There's a couple of examples of this. This one's very good as well because he does peek out, but notice it was a double peek as well from device. And this is big things as far as coordinating with your teammates you need to consider. And that's maybe a little bit hard in your MM or pugs. And you see again in this scenario here, Xyp9x playing on the site, very aggressive actually this time. Again, taking the fights, not delaying so much. But again, because of how this B site works, he's playing this close box. Then these players, you're not really looking down that far, they're looking further towards the back of the site or looking at bench or something as you come out, depending how you want to play the scenario as a T's player. Before swinging out very strongly, taking that short player again. This is the strongest thing about playing this B site, is there are so many angles to check when you're entering. And you can just fall away and play all these different angles, moving like we saw in those previous clips. That's something Xyp9x is very, very good at. Just the movement in general and creating favourable fights. What about if you want to get very aggressive in the B apartments? Well, this is a setup used by Xyp9x and Dupree against Fnatic here, where they get aggressive control. Again, this Molotov is thrown once more, so anyone trying to gather behind it will potentially be in some strife. And notice they're just going to flash up here very aggressively, ready to fight. One flash comes in from Xyp9x, another flash in from his teammates. It's going to be an easy peek around for Crims. Notice that smoke is there, making it very difficult for anyone to try and support Crims or peek, play some kind of anti-flash position. So Crims has to make a decision. Does he start anti-flash or does he end up anti-flash? And we'll look at it from Dupree's point of view. He's going to be throwing this smoke here, the one that lands at the back of the apartments area. Before again, notice Xyp9x throws his own little flash there to maybe make Crims think, man, that's the flash coming in, makes a little bit of doubt in their mind before the second nicer pop flash comes in from Dupree. Or Xyp9x nice easily peek around. So a very simple way to take apartments, one extra smoke, same Molotov as always to just deny this kind of rush coming in. And again, you can see that Molotov is on exactly what I talked about at the very beginning. Denied all information from Crims, what's going on here. Xyp9x able to get nice and close up behind it before being flashed in. And it's a really easy kill and a nice man advantage to push him over the edge in this one and win this game. Now this next option I have for you doesn't really require much explanation. I've shown it before in a Nuggets of Knowledge video, but if you want to get cheeky, think someone's going to walk into the B apartments, this is another option you have just to throw in every now and then. Something you can maybe throw in once every 1 or 2 games, and it's probably particularly annoying for someone like Flusher, not even really getting to see anyone. Next thing on my list is rotations as the B-Apps player. I see way too many players play the B-Apps. Just want to stick around here. I think this is my little tunnel. I've got to hold this. But Xyp9x is very good now at moving around the map, particularly up short. You see a lot of pressure comes in towards middle. This might not have been the right call as G2 about to walk out apps, but he's very prepared to come up here, help his short player out, play 2 players here, potentially catch players off guard. This is something I think is actually relatively new for Astralis. I think Xyp9x was a little bit more stagnant maybe a year ago when I remember watching him then. But coming back and playing these pillars is obviously something you're going to end up doing if you do run up short, decide you want to come play apps. Notice again, very similar to playing on the site, he just peeks at different windows, changes where he's aiming, changes the graded window back to the open window, not letting anyone out bulk, trusting Dupree. And again, it's just almost the same theme, but again, you're playing that pillar, delaying, letting teammates to come in, and just changing at all times what you're peeking and not fighting for too long at a particular window. And when it does come to rotating up short and say the opposing team does go some kind of aggressive A split, you're going to be one of the most powerful players being on this short position to really lock this down. Right here is a great example. Obviously I picked the ones where he gets all the kills because it's more entertaining for you guys. I want you to notice that Xyp9x crosshair placement, it's always on connector because he doesn't want these players to get up in that area of the map, because if he can shut down this connector push right there, he's aiming at the middle of the connector till he sees the Molotov come out, and then again his crosshairs locked straight back onto the middle of that connector, because he knows right now if I can lock down anyone trying to run up here, it gives my teammates a lot more room to move. Glaive is up here close A main, Dupree doesn't have to worry, and even Magisk has a little bit more space to move. He knows, okay, I'm relatively free for now, I can make some kind of play I want, before Xyp9x just taking this player out before eventually being traded. But you can see he's allowed Magisk to potentially make a move if he wanted to. He has to rotate off because of course now the B side is open, but you can see just the purpose in pushing up and how his focus is always on that connector area, because if you can shut down that connector push, you're really helping out your A players. That's maybe a little bit more for the short player, but again, as the apps player, you've got to be prepared to make those kind of rotations. And if you are playing up here on short, you better have a good understanding of how to use your grenades to get back a stronger position. You can see here, Xyp9x using his flashes and his smokes, playing somewhere where he can recover if he gets blinded before. That van flash is a very strong one if you want to get more aggressive, get back into the B side. And you see he's able to reposition himself, probably not expecting a second player at van. He's able to take out 2 players, and putting his team in a great chance to win this round. So that's a good thing to understand, is how much time do you have left when rotating back into short? Do you have time to get into a more strong position like this van one that Xyp9x managed to get to? Or do you have to play pillar, such as in those previous rounds? This is all just reads you have to make, and again, your utility, having a smoke left and stuff, all factors into this. So again, I recommend you watching more demos and seeing all the different scenarios and how players play them. And the last thing I want to highlight to you guys is more of a way of thinking rather than something in particular you can do with B apartments, and this is a good example, is we all think of using our utility in the exact same spot, like that Molotov, right? You always use it in the same position, following up with a nade like Xyp9x. This is very standard stuff, but there's nothing wrong with throwing your smoke in somewhere that you might not expect it to land, such as this one here, where Xyp9x just smokes off the end of the apartment. So even though he has no information, there's no real way for Team Liquid to get out. He can spray behind it. Again, with a narrow choke point like that, that's a great way of clearing it out. Even if you were to smoke there, you just spray down the middle. And if they're trying to gather up behind it or do some kind of explosive play, you're just going to punish them, such as Xyp9x did. And you see this smoke actually is quite effective in general, because I mean, they can't jump out here because it's smoked off, and they couldn't jump out here because that end's smoked off. So even though they might get a little bit more map control, they can't really get out into the B site. And as I said, you can clear out very easily just by spraying them down. And it's as simple as that. But that is about it, guys. Make sure to let me know in the comments who you want to see next play a different position on what map. And of course, like and subscribe to the video if you do enjoy this kind of content. I'll catch you all later.